Now let's get perspective to some of these legal issues and some of these issues have been raised tonight on the program. I have joining me a lawyer and a friend of the house, Mr. Daniel Abiola. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Quickly, there are a lot of issues to touch on, but first and foremost, let's touch on perhaps what you think the statement from the former president means for this administration. Some of the allegations are very heavy and very weighty.
Well, thank you for having me, Sean. I'm not surprised, actually, that the former president said what he said. And in fact, during President Jonathan, he even alleged that 1,000 snipers were being trained. So, and because of the position he has taken lately, he might have taken this decision or direction to give the impression as if the government is up against it. Section 308 only avails serving governors, deputy governors, the president and vice president. It does not avail the ex-governor or ex-president. And everybody is supposed to be law-abiding. If he feels that he's going to be, arrested for something that is unjust, I believe there is a statesman enough to stand his ground in the court of law, and nothing will happen. But if he's breaking the law, then he shouldn't, appropriate and reprobate. You cannot eat your cake and have it.
Let's quickly talk on the issues of the new laws that the president has signed. One of it is going to be the financial autonomy to state houses of assembly and the judiciary in those states. What exactly will this mean for the government, and what difference will it make?
There are two things that I believe the signing into law of the bill, into law will achieve. Number one, it will curb corruption, because usually corruption is when public officers misappropriate funds when it is not clearly defined. And then number two, it will provide for the independence of institutions that we have always been clamoring. You see, with the autonomy granted to the judiciary, it means the judiciary will not come to the government hand in cap or cap in hand, begging for payment. Sometimes state governors delay payments or even underfund the judiciary if judgments are not in their favor. But with this financial autonomy, it means the judiciary will be free to dispense justice without fear and favor. The same thing with the houses of assemblies of state, that is largely considered as houses of assemblies of governors and not of the state because of the way governors manipulate it. But with this financial autonomy, it means that lawmaking in the states now is going to be very strong, because now nobody will depend on the money coming from the governor, because it is already granted to them directly from the federation. So
it's first line charge and it goes straight to them. But another very important one is the fact that the term to complete one's principal, for example, if you are a vice president or a governor and is allowed to complete the tenure of the president or a governor, as the case may be, such a person will not be allowed to do more than a term afterwards. What is the implication of this? Because someone who directly this will point to is a former president, Goodluck Jonathan. It may not be, by this law, it may not be allowed to contest for Nigeria's president again.
Right. You see, I support this law now, but I am afraid I haven't actually had a look at the bill to be able to ascertain that, because this is fundamental amendment of the Constitution. So I don't know if there is a total compliance with the procedure for such amendment. But if procedure is followed, I think it's a welcome development, so that if by virtue of death, resignation, mental disorder, or impeachment that the governor or presidency is to hold for us, then whoever takes from the person will just finish that time and just one more time and not two times. I think it's a welcome development. But we have to look at the law to ensure whether the procedure for this amendment has been followed constitutionally.
Well, another one that is perhaps very important is that which the enabling laws for INEC, especially on the issues of whether or not during by-election extended the timing for the election, and of course there's also another which brings to the issue of the not too young to run law that the president has signed, brings everything that the president has signed into 5 laws now. But that of INEC, what does this mean for INEC, especially as 2019 is just around the corner?
I think with this amendment, INEC finally has some degree of liberty or some pressure taken off of their head, because the outcome of elections can differ. And sometimes INEC, by virtue of either court orders or outcome of election, may be compelled to conduct another election. And when it is 7 days, sometimes it is practically impossible. And if you're unable to do that, somebody goes to court. But with this power granted them, enough time to be able to prepare for by-election, it means some of the irregularities and problems had in the past would have been cured by slow. This also is a welcome development. But not too young to run is a bill that is a law that I believe is epileptic, unless it is amended with 3 other laws, such as the guidelines of INEC, such as independent candidacy, and the requirements for limitation of funds generated by individuals to vie for election.
Okay, let's get your thoughts now on the issues of the pronouncement of the president on the declaration of June 12 and the conferment of the GCFR award and the GCON award to some the former MKO Abiola, late MKO Abiola and late Chief Gani Fawemi. Has the president flouted any law of the land by the pronouncement, especially as regarding the Public Holiday Act?
The Public Holiday Act Section 2 is quite clear, explicit, unambiguous, and without controversy. The president is absolutely within his discretion to declare a public holiday, whether of a date or of a time of a day. And anytime that public holiday is declared, it means there will be no work. If you look at Section 2, it's quite explicit. There is no controversy as to whether the president requires the consent of the National Assembly. It does not say so. It says the president shall, at his discretion, declare a public holiday. So what the president has done is within the ambit of the law. He does not require the approval of the National Assembly. But if you want me to also answer the one regarding the national honors, giving posthumous national honors, I also submit that the president is within the ambit of the law. If you look at National Honors Act and especially Section 5, Section 5 actually lays to rest this controversy that has been generated in the media. Is to the effect that the president can, through that warrant, determine the honor. And the Section 5, it says clear, as long as that honor that is given regarding the fixed date does not come before the enactment of the act. If this act, National Honors Act, was passed into law in 1990, but somebody died in 1989, it means the president cannot give a posthumous honor to him, because it would mean that the act existed before his death, which is not so. But as long as the award, the honor given to the individual who is not alive today and backdated, as long as it does not go prior to the amendment, prior to the establishment of this National Honors Act, it is quite within the presence of the law. It is lawful and it is constitutional. So the president can grant an honor. He can determine the nature of the honor. He can revoke the honor. He can limit the honor. He can extend the honor. If you look at Section 1, 2, 3, 4, even the condition as prescribed in Section 5 is subject to subsection 4 and subsection 6. What does subsection 4 say? Subsection 4 says the president can grant this honor in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. It means if somebody is convicted by the court of law, that means he does not have character and fitness. The president cannot honor such an individual unless that person is granted pardon. That is the premise of subsection 4. That it must be done in accordance with other provisions.
Mr. Abiola, because there are arguments that because some of these public holidays are specifically mentioned in the Act, in the Public Holiday Act, for example, the Democracy Day is specific of May 29, and if that is going to change based on the declaration of the president, shouldn't the law be amended first before the pronouncement? These are some of the arguments.
So this is my submission. If you look at the clear provision of the Special National Public Holiday, if you look at subsection 2, it does not say that the president can declare a public holiday subject to certain provisions. It is without prejudice. It means even if the dates are specified, the president can declare another day as a public holiday. If, for example, there is a day that is specified, maybe May 29, the National Day of Democracy, and the president wishes that that day be changed to June 12th. In my opinion, what is required, if the president so declares, the Attorney General or anybody who is contesting can approach the court and ask for the determination of the court regarding the interpretation of this law. And the court will so determine as to whether the president has the prerogative to do that.
All right. Mr. Abiola, let's take a moment on the program. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll dig deeper into some of these issues. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.